Connecting with your team. Now, if you are going to be the captain of the ship in your area, you're going to delegate. You're going to have systems you need to monitor and make sure that everything's okay. And there are two main ways to do that. The first one is management by wandering. Sometimes people say that stands for management by walking about. But either way, the captain of the ship needs to walk around the ship every day. I would say I think he should walk around the whole ship every day. Now, your ship might consist of offices in India, Hong Kong, New York, and Paris. So you probably may not be able to go around everything every day. But I think you need to visit every branch probably once a month, maybe once a week. It depends enough to have a real feel for what's happening. And you need to see every person in your company ideally once a month or maybe once a year. If it's a huge company, so management by walking about, you have got to work out that amount. But I think you should probably spend an hour or two every day just walking around talking to people. That's a big time commitment. And of course, communication is the first thing to go when things are getting tough. And yet really, it's the most important thing to be doing when things are getting tough. So communication is incredibly important and you must walk around every day for an hour. Now, what would you do during that hour or two? The answer is just to see how people are working. Just like, how are you getting on with this latest job, Feroz? Did you ever hear back from the customer? Just ask them what they're working on at the moment. If you don't know that sort of thing, it's partly for you to pull in information, to get a feel for what they're doing and what they're thinking, how they feel. But it's also important for you to transmit information. Most of your communication should really come down through managers, but it is a chance for you to put some messages out directly and also to check whether your managers are communicating their messages down or not. Sometimes messages get garbled along the way, so you can make sure the message has come down correctly to the guys. So maybe a quarter of time you are on transmit and 3/4 you are on listening mode. You are on receiver mode to see whether people are happy and find out what's happening around. So in a way, you are judging the whole system. Is the system working and you are judging the people and you are not necessarily judging the actual workers? You are judging the managers in between. Are your managers running a tight ship? That's what you are trying to get a feel for when you do management by walking about. It's such an important thing to do. Now the other type of monitoring is back to the floor. I don't know whether you have seen any of those TV programs called Back to the Floor or Undercover Boss, Secret Millionaire, and all those things. But it's very easy to get out of touch with what really goes on. So it's a great idea for maybe one day per year to go back to the floor and do the lowest job. When I say lowest, it's often the lowest paid, but it's often the most important job. So for example, I saw the boss of a bin waste recycling company go back and he just emptied the bins for a week. And he spent a week on the lorries, emptying the same bins. And of course, because he was a manager and was about 60, he was pretty hopeless as a bin man. And all the other bin men laughed at him. And they didn't know who he was. He was secretly going back to their job, but he discovered how tough their job was. And when he revealed at the end who he was, they were amazed. They were also embarrassed because they had all taken out of him because he was so feeble. But when he said that he really had respect for what they are doing, it was a brilliant moment for all the workers. By the way, I think it is when you go back to the floor, you shouldn't do it secretly. You should say, I want to spend a day with you. Or possibly a whole week because I want to understand the real issues. I want to get a feel for what it's like and I know I will be hopeless at it. You will have to look after me. but I want to understand what it's really like for you. And you should find that you will be welcome. They'll think it's brilliant that you are doing that. So don't be tempted to think, oh, I don't want to do that. It will be hard work and it might be cold or dirty or smelly, but you must do it. It's really important partly for credibility, but mainly because that you will make better decisions. When you're in high position, you have to make decisions like that. Do we need more people? Should we put the price up? Should we invest in new equipments? All those sort of decisions. You can make much better decisions if you do a bit of back to the floor. Now, you may think I already know everything, but it's amazing how quickly you get out of touch with what it's really like. So if you haven't done that job for a few years, or if you have got 2 or 3 layers in between you and the shop floor, then you will be out of touch, I bet you. And it's amazing how out of touch we get. One of the reasons, by the way, that we get out of touch is that our direct reports tend to only give our good news. They are not going to say, oh yes, my department's rubbish because I am such a bad manager. It's all about the control. They make mistakes the whole time. So what they tend to do is they tell you everything is great. So before the senior boss start to float on a sort of raft that's being pushed up by the people below you, and you start to not really know what it is like down there at the coal face. So back to the floor, really an important idea. And those are my 2 monitoring methods of management by walking about and back to the floor.